Hello and welcome to the Try Talking Sport podcast hosted by me, Joanne Murphy. Whether you are an athlete, adventurer, endurance enthusiast, or simply have an interest in sport, you have come to the right place for inspiration, encouragement, motivation, and as always, plenty of entertainment. I hope you all had a lovely few days enjoying the Christmas festivities. I had a pretty quiet Christmas, enjoyed a few late starts, catching up on sleep, as well as catching up with friends and family that I don't see very often across the year. I do love the buzz around the build up to Christmas and the few days of no routine and nothing to do during the holidays, but I do look forward to getting back to some sort of a routine as the new year approaches. The office clear out and house cleanup is well underway. The Christmas decorations will stay up for another few days though. I can't take them down just yet. I'm not back on the microphone until early February and have a trip to Lanzarote with the family to look forward to in the meantime. So I am hoping to get my biking and swimming back on track over the coming weeks before my international travel for work starts in March. I was out on the bike on Monday for the first time in ages, an hour on the gravel bike. It was slow and steady, but great to get out and spin the legs in the fresh, yes, actually very fresh, cold air for an hour. Our Fit for Christmas challenge finishes up today. It has definitely kept me on track over the month. There were lots of days when the motivation was high and there were plenty too when I didn't want to move. But knowing I had the challenge to complete and having accountability to get something done, even if it was only a few burpees or push-ups, meant that I kept moving throughout the month. And now looking back at my activities, I think it's the most consistent I've been with the challenge in recent years. I also had my eyes on the Fields of Athenry 10k on St. Stephen's Day as a goal for the challenge. So that kept me moving and motivated too throughout the month, although I only signed up in the few days before the event. I hadn't participated in the race for a few years. It's always a great race and this year was no different. With record numbers, there was a brilliant atmosphere and lots of familiar faces on the course as well as on the sidelines, cheering us on despite the freezing cold conditions. I had one goal going into the event and that was simply to enjoy and finish it in one piece. A bonus would have been a sub 60-minute time on the clock crossing the line. I had great running company with Dolores and Molly Foley from Predator Tri Club, who I just happened to bump into on the start line. We chatted all the way around with a very relaxed pace until about the 7k mark and I was feeling good, so I pushed on to try and get the sub 60 finish and was delighted to cross the line under the arch in Athenry in 58:27. Goal achieved and bonus goal achieved. I'm actually still buzzing after the run and the legs feel good, so I signed up to the Galway City Harriers Resolution Run 5k on New Year's Day. A great way to kickstart the new year. I haven't picked any other races for 2026 just yet. I am keeping my options open for the moment. Running has always been my Achilles heel, but it's been going great the past few months. I've been pretty consistent with it since about mid-July or August. So we'll see where this run fitness will take me. I just need to build back in some swimming and biking so I can tackle a few triathlons in the coming year. I only managed to get one triathlon completed in 2025. It was a great one though, the Tribesman Sprint Triathlon in Galway. Be sure to check it out. But for me in 2026, I think I need to do a few more triathlon races. It was a hectic year on and off the microphone. It flew by in a flash. Almost too fast, with lots of fun enjoyed along the way. So many highlights and so many positive pinch me moments. From meeting and hanging out with incredible people in beautiful places to working some new races and events. It really exceeded all of my expectations and many of the goals I had set for the year. A huge thanks to all the race and event organisers who booked me for 2025. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the coming year unfolds, both on and off the microphone, and of the adventures that lie ahead at home and abroad. Sadly, I lost two close friends, Pat Duran and Jay Luke, earlier this year, and I do miss them both dearly. I think about them often, especially during moments or adventures they would have loved to hear about or indeed share in. And while there's sadness in their absence, there's also a sense of happiness and gratitude for having known them at all. And their influence is most definitely still with me. And I do like to think that they would be proud of what I achieved this year. This is the final episode of the year for the podcast. A huge thank you to all of our guests, listeners and supporters who've been part of the class of 2025. I really do appreciate the support and look forward to bringing you lots more incredible stories, insight and entertainment through the podcast in the coming 12 months. Before we chat with this month's guest, now is the perfect time to stock up on some body care products to help beat the back to work blues or indeed the New Year niggles. So be sure to check out the fabulous range of products from our friends at Nuasan on www.nuasan.com and use the code TTS15 to get a 15% discount online. Wishing you all a healthy and happy new year. It is almost time to get this 2026 party started. But before we do, let's meet this month's guest. Natalie Grabow made history by becoming the first woman ever to finish the Ironman World Championship in Kona at the age of 80. A milestone that stands as a powerful testament to resilience, determination and passion. Natalie's journey into sport began in a very different era, growing up at a time when opportunities for women in sport were limited. Despite a naturally competitive spirit, it wasn't until later in life that she found her way into endurance sport, first discovering running in her late 30s before taking on triathlon at the age of 59. In this inspiring episode, Natalie reflects on her late start in triathlon, her love for cycling, and the mindset that carried her through years of training and competition. She shares insights from her multiple appearances and podium finishes at the Ironman World Championship, including her historic race in Kona earlier this year, where consistency, patience, and experience proved just as important as physical strength. Natalie also speaks openly about the obstacles and challenges she's faced along the way, from managing injuries to balancing the demands of training whilst caring for her husband. With the unwavering support of her family, her coach and her community, she has continued to show up, to race and to pursue ambitious goals, continuing to challenge expectations and redefine what's possible in endurance sport. This episode is a powerful and uplifting reminder that age is not a limitation, that it's never too late to begin something new, and that perseverance, passion and consistency can carry us further than we ever imagined. Natalie's story is one of inspiration, wisdom and perspective, and one I think that will resonate far beyond the world of triathlon and endurance sport. Now go grab a cuppa and enjoy the show. Natalie Grabow, welcome to the Try Talking Sport podcast. I am so excited to have you on the show. Tell me, where in the world are you?
I'm in New Jersey on the east coast of the United States, so northern New Jersey, mountain lakes.
Lovely weather.
It's cold and snowy here.
That's what I meant. It's cold and snowy. It's not wet and miserable like the west of Ireland.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you have to go with all the seasons. So I do like the change in seasons. So we have that.
Brilliant. Well, Natalie, you became a household name, not just in the sport of triathlon, but globally, because you raced in Kona in October of this year. Natalie, what did you do?
Well, I was the first person to finish that race at 80. And so that was a big deal, apparently. And the Shuri Gruenfeld had finished in 2022 at 78. So a few women have tried. I know Harriet tried at 79 and Madonna tried at 80 and 82. So I was fortunate that I was able to finish in 16:45:26. Yeah.
So just in case people didn't actually hear what you said, at 80 years of age, you became the very first woman to cross the finish line of the Ironman World Championship in Kona. I'm just going to let that sink in with people for a minute. That is incredible. Like 80 years of age. I'm 47, so that's still quite a few years away for me to be 80 if I last that long, please God. Where, why, how did this all come about? I don't know where to start. Do we start with Kona or do we start with Natalie as a kid? You decide.
Yeah, I think we start in the beginning. So when I was born, I think you're born with a real competitive streak or not. I have two daughters and they're very different that way. And I was born very competitive. Growing up in the 40s and 50s, we didn't have sports. We played, but we didn't have sports like the boys had organized sports. So in high school, I was a cheerleader and I was active, but not in organized sports. And then in college, I just studied a lot. I majored in math. And then I went on to work at AT&T Bell Labs in New Jersey, and continued to just work hard. And then I started to play tennis a little bit when my girls were born and young, and got into a more active lifestyle. And then I started running in my late 30s. And then I went back to work in my 40s. I had stayed home with my girls for a while. And then I was running in my 40s and 50s and doing very well. I just would run and entered a lot of road races. So I was very successful, and I liked the shorter races, 5Ks and 10Ks. My friends who were runners started to get into triathlon, and I was very envious. And they said, "Oh, come on, Natalie, there's a sprint in the next town." And I really wanted to, because I wanted to join them, but I had never learned to swim. So that was a little embarrassing to admit that. So they were doing a triathlon nearby, and I had one of my daughters come. She was living in DC at the time, and I had her come. I said, "Amy, just do this swim for me. I don't care how slow you are, just do it so I can do the bike and the run." I'd gotten a bike, and I just loved it. I loved all the people and the energy. I was determined to do one myself. So that was when I was 59, and then I started reading and watching people at the Y, and entered the Y and got into the slow lane, and it was hard, and I'm still not a real strong swimmer, but I learned. So then that spring, about 9 months later, I did my first sprint. So I think, I've always been competitive. I love the challenge. I love working hard. And so it fit right in. And also it was a good cross training. I was getting injured a lot with the running, just, doing that. So by swimming and biking, also, I could give the running a little bit of break. And so that's how it all started. So I just loved it. I loved the people and the energy and the competitiveness of it.
59, learning how to swim. Was there any fear factor there, Natalie, or how did you overcome that fear?
And I still, when I stare at the water, when they shoot off the gun or say go, I'm still a little scared. But I'm also brave, and I know I want to do it. And I know that once I get in the water, I'm fine. It's just because I didn't grow up swimming, it's still not my favorite thing to do, and I'm still working on it. I watch videos, I'm watching people and wondering how does it look so smooth and effortless for them. And so I'm still trying to get better at that, but I don't have any fear, once I get going. So it took me a long time to really, get real comfortable. I wasn't real fast. And even in the races where I had competition throughout my time, I was never out of the water, one of the first. I always had to make up the time on the bike. So that's my strength. So
the bike is where you love it.
I just love to go fast on the bike. And it's also, I'm good on the bike. So you kind of gravitate to the thing that you're strong in. And so I just love that feeling of going fast on the bike, and I'm able to pass the people that were ahead of me in the swim. So that's fun.
I can definitely see that competitive streak coming through there.
That's right.
When you're running in the gym and you're running next to somebody on the treadmill, and you're like, you're checking to see, what pace are they running at, or you're swimming in the lane next to a person. It's never a race, but it's always a race.
It's always a little competition there.
So how did you find the transition then from being a strong competitive runner, moving across to triathlon, where you had to go back and learn a whole new sport, really, particularly in the swimming side?
It just took me a long time to really, learn. But I found that I was very good at it. My first year, I did 2 sprints, 1 Olympic and 1 70.3, and I won my age group in all 5 of those. So I knew I had kind of found my sport. And the second year, I qualified for Kona and did Kona when I was 61, my second year as a triathlete, and came in 3rd. So, I felt like this was my sport. As weak a swimmer as I was, I fortunately, that's not the biggest time part. So you can be a little slow in the swim and make it up on the other parts too.
So now when you say you were slow at your swim, what are you swimming 100 meters in? Is it fair to ask? Because you're probably still faster than me.
I don't think so.
I
No.
would say so.
Um, it's around maybe 2:05.
Oh yeah, I'm right there. I'm probably slower. Oh, fun.
Probably not, but
Uh,
don't do a flip turn. I just touch the wall and go back the other direction. And every once in a while, I've had a few coaches and they'll say, okay, do a backstroke or do the breaststroke or something. And I say, I'm lucky I know this stroke. I know freestyle. That's all I know. And I don't. So let's just concentrate on that.
and when you look back to when you got started, what was the biggest barrier, the biggest obstacle you had to overcome away from having to learn how to swim? What do you think back then? Like that's what, 20 years ago or so,
Mhm.
when you started out, what was the thing that maybe might have held you back from progressing, do you think?
I really think it's just the swim. I felt confident on the bike and the run. The logistics are always hard, getting to a race and being comfortable. And my husband used to join me. He wasn't a triathlete or anything, but he would keep me company. And lately, he's been in poor health, so he can't travel with me anymore. I take care of him during the day and have to have somebody to stay with him when I go away. And fortunately, I have a daughter who lives in California. So for the last, probably 10 years, when I've gone to Kona, she's come out and supported me. And that's been a really fun thing to have. She's my competitive daughter. So she's right there cheering me on and saying, Mom, you should probably run a little bit more, when I'm taking my walk breaks. So she keeps me going. I look to her for information and stuff like that. Amy, how far, how many people are ahead of me on this swim? So anyway, we have a great relationship that way. So she likes to support me.
And so you have two daughters and
Yes.
four grandchildren.
Yes.
And your other daughter, is she competitive at all? Is she sporty?
No, she swims, bikes, and runs. She loves to stay fit. She's in excellent shape. She was a gymnast growing up, but even as a gymnast, she didn't have that competitive drive. She's a teacher and she loves to teach and help the kids. And so that's her nature is a little bit different. So
And then speaking of your grandchildren as well, I
yeah.
mean, they must be so proud to have you as a granny.
Yeah, they are, but they are, of course, consumed with their busy lives too. But they are proud. But we have three in college now and one in high school, so they're active and busy with their lives and studying and the social life and all that. But I think one of my granddaughters said that she had a friend in class and the professor brought up an article about me. I don't know whether it was a psychology class or what it was, but it was so funny that would, come into her. So, in the beginning, I don't think they realized really what I was doing or how, you know, I don't talk about it much with the family. We just kind of keep that, kind of low key.
It's just something that you do as part of your life.
Yeah. I think Emma, my oldest granddaughter, was born just around the time that I started. She's 20 now. So, yeah, so they've known that I, do this thing, but
I'm surprised they haven't been saying, we'll go and support you. We'll take the trip to Hawaii.
I know that I would love to have them come to one of my races sometime. As I say, my older daughter, Jenny, she teaches, so it's hard for her in October, and that's why it's easy for Amy because she's not working outside of the home, so she can get away. But yeah, I'd love to have my grandchildren come to one of my races sometime. So maybe sometime they will.
But coming back to the racing then,
Uh-huh.
you mentioned that you'd already been in Kona 10 times. And so
Yes.
when you lined up in October, this was your 11th time
Yes.
crossing the finish line. And if I'm not mistaken, you have been on the podium at least 10 times.
Yes.
Kona. I heard a rumor that you have 10 umekes.
Yes, I do. I have enough for a dinner party plus for salad bowls, what they say. So yeah, I won my age group in 2016, and then I have 4 seconds and 3/3 and 1/4.
Wow.
So yeah, and it was just, I remember the first year, 2006, I was there. I was just so intimidated by, you look on a lead drive and there's people, they're running, they're biking, and then they go swim, and they're all so fit. And I thought, oh, what am I doing here?
I
And
feel that way every time I go there.
do you?
I'm definitely not taking part in the underpants run.
Well, I've never taken part of that either, but it was so nice to go this year and have that confidence. Okay, I've been here. I know what it's like. I'm not going to get intimidated by all these people going up and down the road. That's what they do, and I know what to do for myself. So it was a good feeling that way, to have the confidence that I had gone into it with a little bit of an injury, so that was the one thing that was a little bit bothersome.
Was there a little bit more pressure on you in the race this year because crossing
No,
the finish line this year would have been a historic finish?
I didn't want to do that to myself. When I did Ironman Maryland the year before, I didn't have any intention of taking the Kona slot. That wasn't the reason I did that race. I did that race because no one has finished an Ironman other than Madonna over 78. So I was racing that at 79. So nobody made a big deal of it but me, because I was proud of the fact that nobody had finished one any place at 79 except for Madonna. So that was my whole goal, to do that. Thought I was finished in 2022. There were four of us that started that race, two didn't finish. And I had a heck of a time. I had a foot injury, so I had to walk the run a lot. And my time was quite slow. I was very close to the cutoff. So I said goodbye to Kona at that time. I didn't think I'd ever come back. So I wanted to do Ironman Maryland just because it's a fast course, and I thought I could, race it at 79 and feel good. And I did. I was under 16, and my friends was with me. But the next morning, because I said to my daughter Jen, I said, I'm not going to take the slot. I just really wanted. And then I talked to my coach, and then I talked to the people that were there supporting me, and they said, oh, you should think about taking the slot. So at awards, I said, I don't know. I said to the one guy, Chris, do you think I could do it? And then I said to myself, if you take the slot, you can't be disappointed if you don't finish, because it's a hard thing. So you're not allowed to take the slot if you're not going to be happy, and go in with a good attitude and not be disappointed if you don't get it. So that's the agreement I had with myself. So I really didn't feel that much pressure because of that.
That's a real grounded way to go into Kona, though,
Yeah.
isn't it? Because it
Yeah.
is the World Championship. And even in the coverage that we saw before the race, like, there was lots of spotlight and focus on you being the oldest female.
But yeah, there
Race.
wasn't that much, though. Like, I remember when Sheree did it, was the oldest. I mean, they were announcing a lot more. So I felt that it was pretty low key for me. I didn't feel a lot of, feisty. They interviewed me, but that's about all, So I didn't feel a lot of outside pressure or anything. It was just, I was just worried because my power meter wasn't working, and I had a few things like that. My hamstring was sore, and so I was pretty just focused on myself and my race, and making sure Amy and I were having a good time and having a good trip. Yeah.
Talk to me about race day, standing on the start line at Digby Beach for the 11th time, ready to go make history.
Yeah, I wasn't nervous or anything. I'm always a little nervous before a swim. It doesn't matter what. But that water is so beautiful. It's a little rougher than normal, but it's just such a beautiful body of water. So, I enjoyed it up till the next wave after me started catching up to us. And then, we started to get clobbered, and my goggles got knocked off and all that kind of thing. Because, I'm not that fast. So they did catch up to us. So it's just a matter of staying calm. Okay, the boat's coming up pretty soon. And, so I knew I just, one buoy at a time, and get in and get on my beloved bike, and then I'd be fine.
First of all, before we get to your beloved bike, actually, no, we're going to talk about your beloved bike. Do you have a name for your bike?
No.
Natalie, I'm shocked.
I know everybody names their bike. I don't think of my bike with a name. So I don't have a name for my bike.
Natalie,
No.
I am very disappointed. My very first bike was Jerry because he was a giant. Then I got a felt bicycle and I called him Freddie, and I still have him. I love him, even though he's past retiring age now, but I still love him. And then I have a time trial bike, is also a felt bicycle called Teddy. And
Oh,
then at the end of COVID, around 2021, I was trying to go to Lanzarote for a week, but I couldn't make it work in January. So I decided I would buy a gravel bike. And he is called Axel, he of the gravelly voice. So they're all
uh-huh.
my bicycles. Anyway, I digress, but you need to have a name for your bicycle.
Well, Amy, my daughter in California, she used to do triathlons. And so I've given her all my bikes when I get a new one. So I would have to give up a bike that I had named, and that would be
Well,
sad.
that'd be like giving away a child.
I know. So no, it doesn't have a name. It doesn't have a
Okay, it doesn't have a name. Okay, so
name.
moving on then. So you get out of the water, you go into transition, you get on your bike, and you head out onto the lava fields of Kona. It's hot, it's humid. How does the race unfold for you on the bike?
Well, unfortunately, my hamstring bothered me the whole time. So I ended up stopping a lot, and just to not to stretch it, but just to kind of relax it a little bit. But I knew that was going to happen. I'd injured it, and I just ran out of time. It's perfectly fine now. It's just some things you just run out of time getting them back to. I just pushed a little too hard prior to the race, and actually, I kind of think that it helped my run because I had to kind of hold off a little bit on the bike and stop a little bit more to spend a little more time at the aid stations. And I'm really very good at cooling off. I really know I need to stay cool. So I really hydrate well at the aid stations more than I can just riding. So I really do that. I pour the water over me. I wear a long sleeve shirt that I can water down. And that's been a learning thing for Kona. So you learn a lot having been there in the heat. So I got off feeling good. And when I started the run, I felt better than I usually feel. And I also did a little better with my salt intake on the bike. I did 370.3s this past year. And every time I cramped at the beginning of the run. And it wasn't enough to stop me for long, but I had to walk it off and get a lot of drinks into me and some electrolytes and that type of thing, and then I was okay. But this time I didn't cramp at all, so I really pretty much ran the whole thing other than the aid stations. So I was feeling quite happy about that.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, not fast, but I was running.
Still, the
Yeah,
plan was run and you ran.
and I ran. So I was, and of course it was fun on the bike and the run. I had a motorcycle with the guy there going by, and he's, "How you doing, Natalie?" "Oh, I'm doing pretty good." So I'd never had that before. So that was kind of fun.
It was like
So
being at the front of the race.
yeah, it was like being a pro, you
Yeah.
know?
Speaking of being a pro, do you ever wonder if you'd had the
Yeah,
opportunity to take up triathlon or sport of whatever kind as a kid, that
yeah.
maybe you would have had the engine and the competitive edge to be a professional athlete and perform at the highest level?
I would have certainly given it a shot at something, whether it was a mile, a gymnast. I always wanted to be a gymnast. I wanted to, I love, I ran really fast in local track meets for a mile when I was in my 40s. So I would have tried to do something for sure if I'd had the opportunity that my girls had and that the girls and young women do today. How I would have done, I don't know, but I certainly would have had the desire.
I think you'd have found something and would have been a world champion at whatever you did in professional sport, going off the back of what you've achieved in the latter years of your life have been phenomenal. But before we get to that, talk to me about coming down Elite Drive. No, Palani first. So on the run course, you've done the Energy Lab, you've done the Queen K, you're at the top of Palani. For people who haven't been in Kona, it's quite a steep hill to go up in the first place, but then
Yes.
equally it's steep to come down, and you are
Yes.
so fatigued at the end of the race, whether you were a pro or an age grouper.
Yeah.
So you're running at pace coming down Palani, making that final entry to Elite Drive, and then you've got all the flags and the finish line. Talk to me what it was like in the final 2K of the race.
Well, first I'll talk about going up Palani.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
I I thought, oh, good. Well, everybody walks this a little bit. I'm allowed to. So I was running and feeling good. And then I saw like an announcer there, and then he spotted me. I said, oh no, I can't walk. I have to run this thing now. Oh gosh, somebody spotted me. I got to look like I'm running now. I got to run that whole thing. So I ran it instead of walking. My plan was to walk a little bit of it anyway. So that was just funny. But that's a special corner for me coming down then, because in 2015, I was leading the race and Cherie passed me right at that spot. So she went ahead of me and won that year in the last mile and a quarter or whatever. So I always look at that, turning down there and think about that. My coach was there, and she said, now be careful going down. I said, I'm good. I felt great. I mean, I've gone down that, and my legs have been really fatigued. I felt so good running down there. I ran like I know it was at least 11-minute pace, which was good for me. I was flying down that hill feeling very good. And my coach said, well, do you want me to? I said, no, you can't run with me. And then another woman who was there, she said, I'll run with her. And I said, oh, I don't really want anybody to run with me. Just leave me alone. And so she starts running with me, this other woman. It was very nice of her. But I just want to do my own thing, So we were running together and she said, oh, you're doing really good. I wasn't going to start chatting either. So anyway, and then she'd walk and then I'd go on and then she'd catch up. And so fortunately she went ahead and, but yeah, I felt really good. I was so pleased with how I felt until the little tumble.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What happened?
I think the carpeting was a little wrinkled there and it just caught me unexpected. So I just went down and popped up again and continued.
I'm sure you didn't like that you had the little tumble on the finish, and I'm sure you didn't want that. But actually, when you look back at it, it almost adds to the drama of what you had achieved, in the sense of like, this is an 80-year-old woman crossing the finish line in Kona for the very first time. She's giving it everything. However, from your perspective, I can imagine that you were like, I was flying it. I didn't need to have that tumble. I was ready to go with my hands up in the air.
Exactly.
Yeah, yes, I totally get it. And when you crossed the finish line, how did it feel actually knowing that you had done it and that you had made a piece of history?
It felt good. It felt good. And I always felt like I was going to get there the whole race. I didn't really have any doubts. I didn't feel bad at any point. So I was pleased. I think the fall really kind of bothered me a little bit, but I tried to forget about it, and so that was fun. And Cherie was there, and
Cherie was on the finish to greet you on the line.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, that was very cool.
So she gave me a big hug and all that. And my coach's husband, I was working the finish line and he put the towel over me, and that was really great. And a lot of people chatting to me afterwards. So it was just a wonderful feeling. And then I, met up with my daughter and my coach. And so that's a great feeling. It's such a feeling of accomplishment, that you're so proud of yourself for doing something hard, and not only the race, but just getting there with a little injury and just getting there, and all the logistics, the travel, and keeping yourself calm, and all that is sometimes harder for me than the race itself, making sure that you're not going to get sick or all those things that you think about. So it was funny because my daughter and I went out for dinner, I guess Monday, and we ordered some nachos and guacamole and stuff. And she said, oh, I got to wash my hands. I'm going to go to the ladies' room, wash my hands. I said, I don't really care at this point. I did the race. If my hands are just going to go in there and just, So
Yeah.
I,
But
I,
you're probably minding yourself beforehand, so closely watching everything you
oh,
eat
yes,
in your sleep. People are hugging you, people are touching you.
yes, exactly. Well, and what happened too, my really good friends, they live practically next door. She raced. And he is great with bikes, and he helped me because I've been so used to using tri-bike transport. So it's the first time ever I took my bike with me. So that was a little bit hard too, because I had never traveled with my bike before. I thought, oh, please let my bike get there. So he, took it apart and put it back together. So anyway, I traveled with them, but she got sick, very sick, 2 days before. I mean, she had a fever. She was getting IVs. She was a mess. And I thought, and I'm traveling with them, and they were supposed to stay overnight the first night in my house. But anyway, I quickly got online and ordered masks, so I never got sick, and she got well enough in time to do the race. So it all worked out. But that was just another little thing. So it's those things that are that are hard, that we all go through, that these little challenges, that it's more than just the race itself. It's getting there kind of relaxed and in good form.
Because you can almost control through your training, what you
Yes,
can achieve on swim, bike,
yes,
and run and transition. And
right,
hopefully your nutrition is dialed in as well. So
right,
that there's no errors or mistakes that you make there that are intentional. They're all just
right.
things that maybe happen on course. But what you
Yes,
can't control is
yes,
all of that other stuff. And that stuff is the bit that actually probably causes the most stress for people, because
yeah,
once you're in the swim, it's race on, unless you get a
yeah,
puncture or you have an accident on the
right,
bike or you fall, like coming down Palani or something and you get injured. Everything else is within your control pretty much. But all
right,
that other stuff is like, I just need to get to the start line. And that's what we often
right.
say. The hardest part of doing an Ironman is actually getting to the start
The
line in good
start,
shape. Yeah.
right, exactly.
Meaning everything in good shape, not just you
Hmm.
physically good shape, but
Right,
everything that
mentally
goes with it. Yeah.
and everything. Yeah.
And then in terms of training, Natalie, and I'm sure lots of the listeners would love to know, what sort of training do you do? You mentioned you get your training done every day and that you have a coach. So give me
Mhm.
a typical, I suppose this is a bit of an anomaly now because it's Christmas time, but a
Right.
typical week for Natalie in terms of training.
Yeah. Well, it's people ask that, and it's so different in the off season than it is leading up to a 70.3 or an Ironman. So, but in general, I swim 3 times a week, and there the distance increases based on the race. Right now, I'm only biking and running maybe 3 or 4 times a week, but I'm doing that at least 4 times a week, prior to a big race, and shorter times during the week, and then the long stuff on the weekend, just the same as people who have a job and do their long stuff on the weekend. So a long bike, sometimes a short run off the bike on a Saturday. And for my long runs, my coaches had me doing a combination of the run walk. So I'll run for a mile and walk for a minute and do that type of thing for the longer type
And I guess that
time.
kind of helps as well with the aid stations because they're generally,
Yeah,
that kilometer, maybe a kilometer and a half,
yeah,
or a mile in American money, the aid stations. So, and that's a good bit of advice, is to walk the aid stations and get your nutrition in, because there's no point at all ending up on your
yeah.
dry suit and not
For
recharging.
me, at my age, I have to do that.
And
So,
in terms of things that you know now that you wish you knew 20 years ago, what are the key things that you've learned over the years that help you with your racing and your training now?
well, I've never gotten really serious injuries, but I think I'm always mindful of getting close to having something be serious. So just to learn to be conservative and back off when you feel something's tight or sore. And that's the beauty of triathlon, because if you feel like, it's usually the run, I think, that gets people in trouble. And then, just back off that for a while and do something easy, or, get your biking and your swimming in, and be careful of that. Just always knowing your body. And as you get more and more years in, you know where you're tight, your differences in leg length or whatever, something stronger than the other. So I pay a lot of attention to form these days. So, um, not only in swimming, but in biking and running, because you just have to be so well balanced with that. Because if you do something kind of off, then something's going to get injured. And I also think I wish, even when I started running, that um, I wish I could have not worried so much about my results, and really just enjoyed the. I love the training, and that's not hard for me, and that's so enjoyable. But I've at times gotten myself in a little bit of a tizzy with the races. You get so nervous before, and I don't know whether that's lack of self confidence or just the unknown or what. But
Competitive streak.
what's that?
The competitive streak as well.
Yeah, the competitive streak, you worry about, oh, what other people might think if you don't do well, and that's so silly because nobody really remembers what you did. They remember what they did, but they don't really remember. I mean, a lot of people remember what the pros did, but I don't. I remember if they smiled and if you seemed to have a really good personality and were nice and things like that. So I think I would try to not be so focused on that and not let that make life be more uncomfortable than it needs to be.
And in terms of racing in the future now, you've completed multiple races in 2025. What does 2026 look like for you?
I have 3 70.3s on my calendar, so I'm excited about those. And one of them has a very, very hilly and hard bike, so I'll have to be in good shape for that one. I try to stay pretty close to home with my husband's situation, so I like to just be able to drive with my bike. And so I've got 3 that I'm excited about, so that will be fun. And
Are you able to tell us where you're going, or are they still a
sure.
secret?
Yeah, I'm doing Happy Valley, which is in Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to do Muscle Man, which I love, up in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes area. And then I'm going to do Jones Beach out on Long Island. And I did that the first year when they had a storm. Yeah, I loved it because I love the cold and I don't mind the rain.
You need to come. You need to come over to Europe.
I know. I had a really good bike split because I just was in my element with the cold. It was just so wonderful. Although afterwards, I was so cold. I did have to go into the medical tent to get warmed up a little bit because everybody was freezing. They canceled the awards the first year. Then they had bad weather the second year. And then this past year, they had good weather finally. So I'm hoping to get the good weather.
And what about racing Ironman? Is that on the cards, or have
Yeah.
you? Oh, it is. Okay, tell me more.
Well, I hate to say it because at my age, you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I mean, I hope to get to my 3 races, and you always have to have kind of goals that are big reaches just in your mind, whether you're going to get there or not. Way back, I had the goal of racing at 80, but then I had such a tough time when I was 77 that I said, that's not going to be my goal anymore. It's just too hard. I'm not. And then I happened to feel better, and I said, okay, I think maybe I can do it. So I think things change. We all go through ups and downs, some medical situations, but there's another record out there, as you know, for the oldest woman to have finished an Ironman. So that's one that I could try.
What age do you have to be for that one?
82.
Oh, so there's a few years left.
Yes, that's right. Madonna did Ironman Canada at 82. Okay. So she's the oldest person to have finished, not Kona, but an Ironman in general. So if I'm still moving and excited about it, I'll give it a try someplace.
Yeah. Well, you smile every time you talk about triathlon. So you're definitely somebody who's very passionate about it, not just in terms of the actual training and racing, but you can see it in you when you speak about triathlon, about what you've done.
I love the training. I just have a kind of a hardworking mentality to me, and I love the feeling of accomplishments that the training gives me. So if I can do I had a really good hard bike this morning and a short run. And if I can do that, then everything that happens the rest of the day is just fine because you feel kind of really good about yourself that you've done something that's been good for you. You've pushed yourself a little bit and you've succeeded, and it gives you confidence. So I think whatever people can do for themselves, it doesn't have to be triathlon, but it could be walking or swimming or pickleball or whatever, but just to get out there and move and feel good that they're doing something good for themselves. Their muscles are getting stronger and then their head gets stronger. I think it's a great way of life.
You must have read my mind as to what I was going to ask you next, because you
Oh.
kind of answered the question. We'll have lots of listeners they're a wide range of ages, but there'll be lots of people who'll think they're literally too old to start. Now, too old to start to some people will be 30 years of age or 25 years of age. You were 60, you were in your 60s when you actually did your very first triathlon, and you've had a 20-year journey in the sport. It really is never too late to start to do something.
No, and you shouldn't say, well, I don't have to start till I'm, older. It's so much easier. You have to remember that once I started doing something, running, I really have been very consistent. And that's the key. You can't start and stop. And, you have to be consistent, and then you won't get injured, and you'll just have that steady thing. And you have to find something that you really enjoy. I happen to enjoy all this, but it could be, when I'm swimming, I watch a water aerobics class, and the women, it's social, they chat, and yet they're moving, and pretty much anybody can do that, I think. So find something that you really enjoy that you'll go back to, the next day, that doesn't feel like a chore, and then once you feel your body getting stronger, you're motivated to continue. So whatever your age, you can always, start something, I think, unless you're physically not able to.
And then if you look at all the success that you've had in your life, both in sport and beyond, what would you say is the thing that you're most proud of?
Oh, I'm most proud of my family, my girls, and their families. They have wonderful marriages and wonderful grandchildren, and everybody's doing well and happy. And just the work put into raising them. And this is all great and everything, but when it comes down to it, I think I want to be remembered as a good mother and a good grandmother, and having support my husband as he's not doing well, and that type of thing.
Very, very special to have your family around you and family supporting you and to have that legacy.
Mm-hmm.
But you are an inspiration beyond your family. So many people around the world. And I think what you've done in particular this year has potentially changed the course of the sport for many people who maybe would have thought that they would never be able to do it. And I think what you've done is you've shown the world really that anything is possible at any age when you're consistent, when you've got passion, when you're determined, and when you show up.
Right.
And I think
said,
I think that's really important. If there was somebody listening who really wants to get started but doesn't know how, what would you say would be the best piece of advice to them, regardless of their age or their ability or their aspiration?
I'm not really sure. Maybe if you have a local YMCA or a fitness club or something where the people are real helpful and kind, they're used to dealing with someone who's starting out, because my Y is like that. There's so many different classes, and everybody is so kind and nice and helpful. And if that's what you need to get started, then I think you can find a place like that nearby that welcomes you, that says, hi, how are you doing? How can we help you? And have a nice day when you're leaving. And, it makes you feel part of a community. And that's so important to, that will give you some friendship, some social connection, and get you moving, and you'll make friends and want to go back and see those same people. So I mean, unless you're a real loner and just, you could just start walking. And walking is great because you get to think about things and solve problems and get some fresh air. So there's so many, depending on what your personality is.
And there's always a local tri club as well that will, if there
Yeah.
isn't a YMCA, we don't have many of those. I don't think we have any of those in Ireland or the
Oh,
UK,
okay.
but certainly there's plenty of triathlon clubs that will have,
Mhm.
a beginner's officer that'll have that
Yes.
welcoming smile
Uh-huh.
and that opportunity for you to come
Right.
and say hello. Natalie, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. I know that the listeners are going to absolutely love listening to you, and I know that we're all going to be following your journey to that next record and watching closely to see you succeed in all of your upcoming endeavors and your racing in 2026 and beyond. So thank you so much for joining us for the show, and Happy New Year.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can get in touch with any feedback or guest suggestions by emailing me on trytalkingsport@gmail.com. If you would like to hear more great episodes of the podcast, be sure to check them out on our website or wherever you get your episodes. There are so many to choose from, so please do dive right in. You can follow all of our activities and podcasts on Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram. If you have any feedback or guest suggestions, please email me on trytalkingsport@gmail.com. I really would love to hear from you. Until next time, thanks for listening. Stay safe, keep smiling, and remember to look for fun and adventure in every day.